Good evening all. Nice to be here with you. This is a Bodhra. In the Irish language, it literally means a goat skin or a sheepskin drum. And it's a drum that goes back well over 4 centuries. And of course, as you can see, the skin comes from an animal, a goat or a sheep, okay, wrapped around a round piece of wood. And most Bodhrans have 2 cross pieces because wood and skin are affected by heat. It is played with a piece of wood. Looks something like this. They come all sorts of varieties, sizes, depending on what you happen to like, how it feels in your hand. They call this a tipper. And the reason so is that when you hit the drum, literally, you tip it, whether your hand is going down or your hand is coming up. And the interesting thing about this drum is that if I don't put my hand on the back, you'll hear it is rather loud. However, if I put my hand on it, I can mute it. Right? So the wonderful thing about playing it is that you can do all sorts of variations depending on the music that you are playing. So anyhow, as I said, this is called a tipper. Now, at one time in Ireland, there were no tippers. Literally, people played the Bodhra with the tips of their fingers and their thumbs, and it came out very similar as to using the tipper. However, the tipper was invented, and it is a very interesting story as to how that came about. Now, if you go to Ireland and you're looking for traditional Irish music, I mean, you'll find it all over the country. But in particular, there's a phrase in Ireland, even now, they say, if you want to hear the music, you go to Clare. Now, I don't know if any of you have been in Ireland, but Clare is that place. You go to Ireland, you land either in Dublin, you land in Shannon. And Shannon is where Clare is. And it has for hundreds and hundreds of years a wonderful tradition of playing Irish music. It also has a wonderful tradition of Bodhran playing families. Wherever you go in Clare, you will find Bodhran playing families. And the most famous of them all, it is said, were the McNamaras. Wherever you went in Clare, if you found McNamaras, they could play the Bodhra and play it very well. Fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers, sisters. And it is said that the greatest of the McNamaras was a fellow by the name of Stevie McNamara, or Stevie Mac, as he was called. Now, it is said that Stevie Mac lived somewhere at the beginning of the 20th century, maybe a little bit earlier. And it is said that when he played his music and he played the rhythms of his drum, they were so wonderful. People couldn't help themselves. They had to get up and dance. Even the elderly people who may have had a difficult time moving, when they heard his music and the rhythm of his drum, they got up and they danced. Now, if you met Stevie Mac, you would remember him. Not that he was that unusual looking, but he was different. Now, Stevie was about maybe 5'4", 5 inches in height. And he had an enormous head of curly black hair. So large that when the wind blew, it was almost like a giant balloon going back and forth. And along with that, he had a wonderful black curly beard. And he had a little pot belly. And very unusual about him, he was a young man, but for some reason he seemed to have an older man's voice. And when he laughed, that belly would jiggle, almost like a bowl of jelly, and that voice would come out almost like Santa Claus. Now, Stevie Mac lived when he was a young man outside of his hometown of Innisdiamond. Now, if you went past Stevie Mac's house, you would have noticed that it wasn't very well taken care of. The roof might need to be fixed, there might have been weeds, the grass had been cut in a long time. Do you have any reason, and I don't know why Stevie Mac possibly didn't take care of his house? Any thoughts? It was because he was always off playing the music. Every day he would wait till somebody came and told him there was a wedding that particular day, or there was a Kelly. The word Kelly in the Irish language means a gathering, coming together to celebrate, very much like we're doing here tonight. Well, as soon as Stevie Mac got the word, he put on his long brown coat that went down almost to his feet, took his bodhra, put it under his arms, started to whistle a tune, out the door, and was gone. Well, now on this particular occasion, Stevie Mac was out very, very late, till almost 5 o'clock in the morning at a ceilidh with his friend Charlie O'Connor. And when he came back home, he fell into a very deep sleep. And he didn't wake up until almost 5 o'clock the following day. And suddenly he sat up in the bed. "Oh Lord, I'm supposed to be playing at the Shannon wedding tonight. I better move myself." With that, dressed very quickly, put on the long brown coat, took the bodhra and put it under his arms. Now on this occasion, Stevie Mac did not go out the front door of his house. He went out the window right next to his bed. Remember I told you he didn't take care of the house very well, so much so that the branches of the trees came right up to the windows of his house. So he opened up the window and out on the branch of a tree and was gone. Now this was a clear night, a typical clear night, very, very dark. At that time there were no lights on the road. I remember myself growing up there as a child, literally so dark you could barely see the hand in front of your face. And there was a light mist falling. And Stevie Mac was in such a rush to get to the Shannon wedding, didn't he make the wrong turn off the main road? And he worked themselves way up into the hills until it dawned on them. "Well now, I've been all over the County Clare, and I don't remember a place like this." And with that, the wind started to pick up and the rain started to fall. "I better find myself some shelter." And with that, didn't he come to a small stream, and over the small stream was a small bridge. And when he got over the side, on the other side, there before him was this enormous castle, largest he had ever seen in his life. And it was pitch dark, and he sensed that there was nobody in it. And the wind picked up some more, and the rain started to fall as Stevie Mac made his way up the path towards the gate. He was barely able to get the gate open because of the rust that was on it. And he went up to the door and he knocked on it. No answer. Knocked again. No answer. Put his hand on the knob. Turned. The door opened and he walked in. Pitch dark. Reached into his pocket and pulled out a candle, some matches. Now, bodhra players always at that time carried candles and matches. The simple fact, if the skin got soft, a little bit of heat at a distance would tighten it up again. So Stevie Mac took the candle and went through every room in the house until he came to one particular room, very large. Looked like a place you could have a great reception or a great party. And at the end of that room was the largest fireplace that he had ever seen in his life. And by the fireplace, a single chair. "Well, it's for sure I'm not going to get to the Shannon wedding tonight. But I'm going to sit here now and play a few tunes to keep myself company." And with that, he started to play one of his favorite tunes. Well, Stevie Mac was just coming around to his favorite part of the tune, and he thought he heard some of a kind of a voice or something coming in the direction of the chimney. "Well, "That's not my voice. Ah, sure, it must be the wind coming down the chimney." And he continued to play. And a few moments later, a voice did come out of the chimney, and this time it was very distinct. It was an eerie sounding voice. "Stevie Mac, stop that infernal racket, or I'll be coming down the chimney, and that surely will be the end of you." Ha! No one tells me when to stop the tune. The tune stops when it's over. And he continued to play. And suddenly down the chimney came in this figure, dressed in a beautiful leather outfit, jacket, pants, boots. But it had nothing around its neck. You see, it had no head. And as surprised as Stevie Mac was, he didn't let it stop him from playing. And he continued on. And a few moments later, another voice came out of the chimney, this time a screeching, demanding voice. "Stevie Mac! Stop that infernal racket, or I'll be coming down the chimney, and that will be the end of you!" Down the chimney came another figure, this time having the body of a woman and the head of a goat. And just like the other figure, taken by Stevie Mac's music and the rhythm of his drum, they both got up and started to dance around the floor. Now, by this point, Stevie Mac knew that there were two spirits in the house, but he didn't know how many there might possibly be, and he didn't know what they might do to him. So in a sense, he thought he might be playing for his life. And even though his hand had become very tired, he switched over to one of his favorite reels. "Da-da-dee, the day-lum, the dee-lum, da-da-dee, the day-lum, the dee-lum, da-da-dee, glum, dee-lum, da-da-dee, the day-lum, the dee-lum, glum." And a third voice came out of that chimney. A very dark, strange-sounding voice. "Stevie Mac, stop that diddle-dum infernal noise, or I'll be coming down the chimney, and that surely will be the end of you." Down the chimney came the largest cat that Stevie Mac had ever seen in his life, dressed in a beautiful outfit. A top hat stood up on its hind legs, and its eyes glaring down on Stevie Mac. And it too, taken with his music, started to dance around the floor with the other two. And Stevie Mac, though he was tired, played on. And down the chimney, more and more spirits came. And Stevie played, and they danced, and the wind came, and the rain, and they played, and they danced, and the wind, and the rain, and he played, and they danced, and the wind, and the rain, until Stevie Mac could play no more. He was so tired. And he placed his head on his Bodhra and fell into a very deep sleep. A few hours later, he awoke. And when he looked around, there on the floor were all of the spirits, fast asleep, knocked out from their wild night of dancing. Then Stevie Mac became aware of the light of the new day coming in the windows, and when he looked again, each one of the spirits rising and disappearing into the morning air. "Well, I didn't get to the Shannon wedding, but what a night I've had. Wait till I tell them about this." And with that, he put on his long brown coat, took his Bodhra on, put it under his arms, and headed for the door. And just as he got there, a chorus of voices greeted him.
thanks, Stevie Mac, for your wonderful music and the wonderful playing of your drum. For you see, we're the spirits that weren't good enough to go, but we weren't bad enough to. So for a long, long time, we have been here in a kind of purgatory, waiting. But now, because of you and your drum and your music, we have danced all our wrongs away, danced all of our sins away, and can make our way up to heaven. But Stevie Mac, we noticed while you were playing, your hand got very tired. So for the future, we have something to help you. And there magically before his eyes appeared this unusual piece of wood. And an unseen spirit came, put it in his hand, showed him how to hold it, and showed him how to use it on his drum.
Well, as you can imagine, when Stevie Mac got back home, he had quite a story to tell. And it wasn't long till every Bodhra player from County Clare to County Galway and back was paying the Bodhra with this piece of wood, which they called a tipper. Now, there are still Bodhra players throughout the world who prefer to play with their fingers and their thumbs. But most of us play with this tipper. And it's all because of the night that Stevie McNamara got lost on his way to a wedding. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening.